Alright, as you can see, we're back out here with the Toyota pickup. I've got the intake plenum off. If you saw my last video, I'm repairing a stripped out hole in the back where the EGR valve bolts up. Still working on the oil baffle stuff. Have a video on that coming up soon. But the subject of this video is what I like to refer to as my beloved Braille battery. And I'll interject here that I'm not being paid to discuss this battery. This video is not sponsored by Braille. However, I do know the owner of Braille Battery, Gary Savage, and I have run, and the way that I ended up running this battery is, and you can see this is the G30. I'll put a link to the video, to the specific battery. I've had it in the truck for a little over a couple years now. The way that I came to have this battery in my truck is that when I first bought my truck, it was, on the way to the junkyard, and the battery that was in it wouldn't last more than a couple of days, and I had to recharge it with my battery charger. Now, I originally came across this battery online to run, not this exact battery, but this company's battery to run in my Ferraris. And if you're not familiar with owning a Ferrari, the new modern Ferraris have so many computers on them that when you turn the car off, there is what's known as a parasitic draw. And the current required to maintain the computers and the alarm system and so forth on the Ferraris, even when the car's off, means that the battery only has juice for, anywhere between 3 and 7 days, generally speaking. So you have to constantly plug your Ferrari into a battery tender. Even doing that with the OEM batteries they supply, people have just nothing but problems with their cars not starting. And nothing's worse than taking your super expensive exotic car out for the weekend and then having the darn thing not fire up. A lot of them, you can't pop start a car that's got an F1 gearbox on it, dual clutch transmission. So, having the battery go dead on the Ferrari is a real pain in the butt. The only real solution to it is to put a lithium ion battery on, because it has a drastically less discharge, and the lithium ion cells, the discharge profile, if you look it up for the material that the cells are made out of, can supply the necessary voltage far longer without depleting than a traditional lead acid battery. Anyways, you can research all that stuff online. The bottom line is that running a lithium ion battery has a number of benefits. And so, given the good luck I had on the Ferrari, I decided to upgrade the truck with this battery. Now, I should point out that I only paid, I think, $800 for my entire truck. And this battery and the charger cost about the same amount. So it was really, hard for me to justify spending that much money on a car battery. However, given the many years of success I had with the Ferrari, and the Ferrari batteries are 25 or 2600, so given the many years of success I had with the Braille battery and knowing Gary and how helpful he is and how well the batteries are made, I decided to go ahead and bite the bullet and put this G30 battery into my truck. Now, you can see here, and as I said, I'll put a link to the specific battery. You can buy it from their website. I think you can also get it through Amazon. And you can see I've done my own wiring here. I also have upgraded the alternator with a 140 amp version, and I have my own kind of circuit breakers installed and so forth. But the reason I wanted to make a video about this specific battery is I get a lot of questions about it on my YouTube channel here. And I realized the other day that there's certain things you need to know about running a lithium ion battery. You can't totally just go out and throw it in your car. I mean, you can, and it works, but there's some key things that you should be aware of when using a lithium ion battery. And here they are. First of all, the voltage level that this battery provides is slightly higher than the voltage from a traditional lead acid battery or an acid glass matte battery. Those batteries tend to provide around 12.6 or 7 volts. This battery is more like 13.2 volts. Now, that does not negatively affect anything on the car. As a matter of fact, it generally makes computers in my Toyota truck has a little computer in the kick panel there. It generally makes electronics run a little bit better because you have just a tiny bit more voltage present. As mentioned, the standby time for the battery is absolutely incredible. You can, because there's almost zero parasitic draw on these trucks. I think the only thing that draws any current is the clock on the dash. So because there's zero parasitic draw, these batteries can sit around for a month or two, and then they'll fire right up as though you had a brand new car battery. So it's nice to have a battery that cranks the engine over, so well. One of the big benefits, and I've unstrapped it here, but one of the big benefits is you can see it's exceptionally light. Probably only weighs, I don't know, a couple pounds maybe. I haven't weighed this one specifically, but 2 or 3 pounds. So compared to the average Group 48 battery that can weigh 30 or 40 pounds, you save a tremendous amount of weight off the front of the truck, which helps the handling and everything. It's also just nice to have a battery that if you do have to move it around or take it in and out of the vehicle for some reason, it doesn't weigh a ton. But one of the things you got to know about running lithium is that because of the difference in the cells, the lithium cells inside, you cannot just charge this battery up using a normal car battery charger. So the link that I'll put in the description goes to a combo package where they also sell a specific lithium battery charger. Now that charger, and I keep it behind the seat in the truck, that charger is specifically designed to recharge the lithium battery. Now the alternator, luckily, will, because of the way it produces its electricity, it will do a fine job recharging this battery. When you're driving along, and I have a little voltage meter that shows the voltage level of the cars digitally. Generally, when you're driving along, it's outputting anywhere between high 13 volts or as high as 14.2 volts. And because it's putting out an alternating current, which is rectified through the rectifier on the on the alternator, you get basically it's kind of a pseudo square wave, or a rectified sine wave, I guess you would say. And that's suitable for charging a lithium ion battery. However, the DC current that comes out of a traditional battery charger isn't so good. So you can't just, if this thing goes dead, you can't just throw your battery charger from Sears or something on it. You've got to actually use the specific charger for lithium ion, or better yet, the one that Braille sells. Additionally, and the reason I'm covering that is because this question actually did come up recently on my comment section. So if you do decide to go for this battery in your truck, it does have a lot of benefits, but you have to know what you're dealing with. Now, the other thing is that while this battery generally has a 13.2 volt resting voltage, it can, in certain situations, be depleted. I'll give you an example of how that happened on my truck. With my truck here, I run, it's not open right now, but if you peek in there, right there, I run a bunch of AEM gauges. One of them is an air fuel, wideband air fuel monitor, and it has a sensor which has to heat up. And so it has because it's a wideband O2 sensor, it has a heating circuit involved which draws a pretty decent amount of current. One time I accidentally left the ignition switch in the on position, and the current being drawn by that heater was enough to drop the voltage on my battery to where I couldn't start the truck. When the voltage level on this battery gets down, you know, below 6 or 8 volts, you can't recharge the battery through the alternator. You get into a situation that you need to be aware of. And what it is that because lithium batteries have a very low internal resistance, they're able to accommodate or accept a huge amount of electrons very quickly. So if you take a lithium ion battery, which is fully depleted, and you try to recharge it with your 140 amp alternator, the battery says, all right, let's go. Give me all the amps you have right now. And you can see that's why I have very heavy cables, and why I have a 130 amp marine grade circuit breaker here. I also have a 140 amp fuse in here, where the old 75 amp. Sorry, 80 amp fuse used to go. So if you get yourself into a situation, this is something you have to be aware of if you run the lithium battery. If you get yourself into a situation where the battery's too far depleted, you create a situation where you basically could inadvertently push, you know, TIG welding amps through your electrical harness. So you got to be very careful of that. Now, if you do encounter that situation and the battery is down around 4 to 6 volts, the Braille charger has a secret, kind of, maybe not so secret, kind of like the in and out, you know, secret menu, not really secret, at in and out burr. It has a pulse mode which will automatically activate and pulse current into the battery to revive it properly and get it up to a voltage threshold where you can then put more current into the battery. So that's something else to be aware of, is that that charger that comes from Braille has that kind of recovery mode built into it. Now the other thing is that unlike a normal battery charger, you don't need to leave the battery charger on overnight. You have to actually calculate mathematically based on the amp output of the charger and the voltage capacity of the battery. And I think this one is a 100 and so this is a 13 amp hour. So you have to calculate how many minutes it would take to return the battery to a 100% charged state. Now, what I do is I just charge it for 30 minutes and see what my resting voltage is. But you do have to be aware of that. You don't want to hook up the charger to your lithium-ion battery and come back 3 days later and hope everything's okay. Maybe the charger has a circuit where it will monitor that, but I don't know for sure. Braille Batteries tech support and customer service is excellent, so you can always call or email them. A lot of times, Gary, the one who runs the company or owns the company, I believe, he will actually email you back technical information. I've spoken with him a number of times, and one of the reasons I'm so impressed with the company is because any electrical type engineering question I have regarding this battery, Gary has always fully addressed it over email, and no matter how crazy my questions are, he will, let me know what's what. Now, somebody asked about, well, how long does this battery last? Now, lithium-ion technology, as applied to automotive industry, you know, outside of perhaps Tesla, is a relatively new field. But based on what I know of the battery, its construction, and the company, I would say that we're probably talking about a battery here that has a lifespan anywhere from 6 to 8, maybe even longer years. So very good in that department. Overall, I can say it's just been an absolute joy to have this battery powering the truck. The truck always fires up without fail, as long as you're kind of aware of, you know, making sure the voltage level is always kept up. As long as you drive the truck once or twice a month, then a few minute, 20-minute drive down the road will restore the battery to full charge, as far as I know, because there's no parasitic draw in the truck like there is on some other sports cars. The Braille battery, in case you're wondering, that I ran on the Ferrari was the i48CS. Very good battery. You can go to the Braille website and you can research all the different batteries and all the different specs. The G30 automotive battery is really the one for the pickup truck, however. And like I say, I will put a link directly to the combo kit that includes the charger, which I highly recommend, unless you have another lithium-ion charger. And even then, I would recommend the Braille one. That's how good it is. So I just wanted to cover that kind of life with the Braille battery and the things you need to be aware of. Outside of the kind of the charging recovery issues should the battery go flat, and the fact that you can't use a normal battery charger or you could damage the cells, and that in the event of a fully depleted battery, it is not a bad idea to have some sort of circuit breaker measures in play, or at least recharge the battery using the lithium, the Braille charger. As long as you understand kind of the landscape you're dealing with, then it's just a phenomenal battery, so far superior to, you know, any of the lead acid or acid glass matte type batteries. It's just in a class of its own. So I wanted to cover that for anyone who might be considering using the Braille, and just make sure that if you do happen to buy it, you know, everybody out there is kind of aware of the little things that you have to understand to utilize it. So, and as always, if you have any questions about anything regarding the battery or anything on the truck, the comment section is there. Please feel free to make use of it. I try very hard to answer every single comment or question that comes in through the YouTube channel. So hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching.